Just. Good morning, Fellowship Church. I want to welcome you, and we're keeping the baby happy, so he's joining me up here this morning. I'm going to open us in prayer, and then we're going to head into worship. God, thank you so much for this morning. Thank you for the souls you brought together here today. I'm excited for today. I ask that you give us still hearts and open minds to take away from this place in our time together what you would have for us and what you want to bless us with today. Amen. Good morning. You ever wonder why at the end of songs in church we typically say amen and not a women? They're called hymns, not hers. That's not okay. All right. So there are opportunities to meet throughout the week. The first being Monday, Wise Women's 11 o'clock in Altoona at Cabin Coffee. There are no tacos in prayer this week. That's on hiatus for a bit. Wednesday, Man Club is at the Hammer household, which is an awesome place in Eau Claire. I think one of the best views I've seen in Eau Claire from a living room. Talking that up. It's been a sweet time there. Next Saturday, we are looking for people with strong-ish backs and strong wills to help. Elizabeth is looking for help to move. And so if you are available next Saturday, you can talk with her and get some of the information for that about what time and where to show up. Also coming up soon is the Hope Village Banquet. That is Thursday, October 6th. And that is raising funds and awareness for the Hope Village, which is being built up by Subway here in Chippewa Falls. And it's really an area that is hoping to provide a safe place to transition out of homelessness. We were talking with our friend Tom at Man Club this week, and for him it's been a years-long dream that he's finally seen to come to fruition and have a permanent home. And seeing his joy in that was just a really remarkable thing from this last Wednesday at Man Club. Also coming up, Love Chippewa, you should have all gotten a card as you came in today. The churches in Chippewa are putting on a Touch Twice free clinic coming up the 15th of October. All of the information is on the card, so if you'd like to either promote, we're looking for volunteers, certainly advocates of people to help guests throughout their time at the clinic, but you can also just promote people to come and let them know what we're offering at that clinic during that time. So you all have that, and I believe that's all I have for announcements. So we're going to go into a few more songs.
and made myself laugh. So it's funny that Ed and Judy are here because that last picture reminded me when I was in Virginia, kind of looking up over the Shenandoah. It was I didn't connect the dots, but it seemed like God did. So welcome to Fellowship Church. We're glad that you're here. We're in this series of 10 cultural lies, and as we speak, I first want to thank Will and Dan for magically getting the movie on. We're showing Pinocchio to the kids. If you notice, the kids have magically disappeared from the room, but they were watching. You don't know? They're still here. Oh, I don't see them, but oh, those kids. I see. I get it. Again, the old joke is the kids say, my dad's not young, he's just immature. So anyway, so thank you to Dan and thank you to Will for pulling it off. It's a really wonderful thing. And we're also showing Pinocchio, which is, again, kind of fits in with the series. And it's the old school Pinocchio, and we were talking about that this morning. And so bravery, truth-telling, those kinds of things makes you into a person of substance. It's kind of the message, in case you haven't seen it. It's really good. Last week, I was talking about this lie of being open-mindedness. Open-mindedness as the ultimate end in mind. So you don't close your mind to anything. Everything goes and anything's permissible. And then as we talked about that, we talked about truly walking this path, the way, Jesus calls it the way, the truth, and the life, where you have a foot in chaos and a foot in order. Again, Jordan Peterson talks about it in his book, but it's this balanced way. It's not either or, it's both and. Again, and there's a way of doing it. So this quote was one that I used from last week, that most of us lead lives of quiet desperation. And yet, then most go to their graves without actually singing their song. Okay, I don't know if that fits with any of you in the room, but again, Wednesday, one of our friends, Dan, came from a walkabout or a drive-about on an excursion, and God is bringing a psalm to him. He's actually writing something. I'm hoping that he'll share it with us maybe when it's complete. I thought there was applause. That's awesome. Anyway, so I want you to think about your song. I want you to think about what God is doing in you and through you. I want to think about the Creator who speaks to people, who give them willing consent to work through and work with to accomplish His good and perfect will. That's what I want you to think about. This week, we're going to be talking about all we need is love, sweet love. Okay, so I'm just going to put that out there, and I want to ask you, and I want you to yell it out. What do you think I'm going to be focusing on? All the world needs. This is, again, a lie. So what do you think I'm going to be talking about? All the world needs now is love, sweet love. Is what? Peace? What? Coming together? There's a lie in there? Lie in a peace? Lie in coming together? Is there a lie in that? No? Okay, well, good. Nobody really knew where I was thinking. What I thought of originally was these bigger issues of, let's say, transgenderism or same-sex relationships, or that's where I was thinking about in terms of cultural lies, and that all love is good love. But as I was looking at this deeper, we talked about it a bit on Wednesday, I was seeing that there are these origins of love, these belief or center points that are imprinted on us that kind of color the way we look at love. So that's where we're heading. I'm just giving you a heads up. So first we're going to go on this video before you play it. This is from a commencement address. His name is Peter Kreft. It's from Boston University, and it's just a very short clip on love. So go ahead.
Line number 9 is that all you need is love, sweet love. In other words, you don't need truth, whatever that is.
Again, if you haven't been in our series, this whole commencement address is posted on YouTube. You can see it. He was being provocative and trying to communicate this other way of being. And so I would encourage you to look at that. So to kind of bring you down off the ledge a little bit, I want you to think about someone you love. Okay, so I get the love picture, right? I want you to think about, put in your mind, someone that you love. Okay? Somebody that your heart warms when you think about them. Again, most of us have someone like that, but someone you love. It could be romantic love, it could be a child, it could be a spouse, it could be a parent, it could be somebody who was meaningful in your life, but I want you to think about that. Okay? See, you're smiling. There's some people smiling. Some are indifferent. Okay. What happens to me when I think about the people I love is that these emotions rush in. Usually I'll smile, kind of like what some of you are doing. There's a warm feeling. There's memories that emerge. There's something that's connected to it. And then what I also found out is that as I thought about it more, some of these other things started flooding in with them. And I'm like, ooh. And so maybe that's some of the faces that you're looking at. So there are these warm feelings, a smile. For Andrea, this is what I think she thinks about, what she thought about. Can I get that picture? So, so this is a shirt that I had made for her. Because she's traveling so much, she is in love with the Delta Sky Mile Lounge. This is a joke that we talk about. And I'm actually using it for a couple reasons. One, another friend of ours has I hope my boat is thinking about me. Might be, other things for you. But the reason I used it was not to talk about her or disparage her, but to actually share how I am threatened by super silly things that people find interesting or compelling or wonderful, as if somehow that takes away from me. Okay, that's what I want to talk about. Okay, so these unhealthy things where love starts in a really wonderful way and then these other unhealthy things rush in, they can create abuse. And love starts off wonderful, but it sneaks into this negative way, and it comes into these unhealthy forms of love. And on the unhealthy side, we think about drama, we think about craziness, I call it hell-bent, or, too much of something, extremes. That's what we're talking about. So, again, lightening the load a little bit. Can I get the next two videos? I hope this will make you smile. Bless you.
What are you so happy about? She just started following me on Instagram. What are you so nervous about? She just started following me, like, everywhere.
Wanna hang out later? Me and my boyfriend always have Monday fun day. Aww. Wanna hang out later? Me and my boyfriend always have Monday fun day. Tomorrow? It's not Tuesday, Tuesday. Wednesday? No Wednesday.
So we're talking about unhealthy forms of love. It starts off in this wonderful, warm place, but then it quickly and sometimes unexpectedly just slides south, shall we say. So my thought or my supposition is that we are targeted or branded with the target by the families of our origin, where we're born into. There are things that our families did and do that are completely unique to our family and my family of origin. And when Andrea and I first got together, again, there were certain things that they did routinely or regularly or habitually or religiously that was just completely unusual to me or just unheard of. And then even moving from Massachusetts to Wisconsin, there are certain cultural things that happen here. I grew up here, so this is the way it's always been. But when we were in New England, they do some really strange things. They talk strangely. Those kinds of things is what we're talking about. So I want you to take out your sheet of paper, and on the back side is a list of words. I'm trying to give us language, common language that we can talk about this unhealthy love with, okay? And so I want you to think about your families of origin. Where is it that you're coming from? And maybe the family that you're in, because most of us tend to bring those things with us. But I want you to read through these words. We're going to go through it together kind of slowly. And I want you to either highlight or just make a note of the ones that stick out to you. If you want more information, those videos and this list comes from this joinonelove.org. Again, it's specifically giving people tools to address abuse in relationships. I think it's a powerful tool. Most of our relationships, Lord willing, don't go in that direction. But if you find yourself there, or if you found yourself there, or sometimes you don't know how in the world did I ever get here, these are some tools to give to you, to us, to actually start talking about these things. Okay, so language to define unhealthy. So we're talking about intensity. And so usually, do you remember when you first fell in love? I'm looking at the loving couple in front of us. Man, they were just so in love, and we were a part of that, and they couldn't get enough of time with each other, and they sat really close together. They still do. But you know what I mean? Like, it's an intense time. It's that point where you're like so in love, I can't think about anything else. But then, like the clip, it kind of shifts where all of a sudden, sometimes when you get into the unhealthy realm, it becomes suffocating. You just feel like you can't have air. And there's no space. There's no space for other people, people that you love, or things become or seen as a competitor to your relationship. Again, I'm using the Sky Miles lounge as my illustration. Again, I feel pretty upright. I feel like I'm in the right direction. But I'm also confessing to you that when things go badly, when I'm under great stress, this target, this imprint just seems to come out of me. I don't know where it comes from. Actually, I kind of do now. But it's like unexpected and certainly unwelcome. It's just an illustration, and it's mine, may not be yours. Second one, manipulation. If you really loved me, you'd do this for me. Or I thought that you loved me. Anyone ever hear those things? It's that place where you're like, I really don't want to do this, and the other person's like, can't take no for an answer. And this could be any number of things. Could be going to a restaurant. It could be going places you don't want to go. But there's this manipulation where a person is saying something to you to try to get you to do what they want you to do. Ed used an example for me a few years ago. Again, a friend said something to me who got me to do something I really didn't want to do. I was injured. I had broken my ribs. And I said, but Ed, it worked. And he says, I don't care if it works or not. No one deserves to be treated like that. And there's this healthy love, this other love, and then there's these unhealthy ways of demonstrating love. Sabotage, when somebody purposely ruins your reputation, achievements, or success. There have been some times where people have been through our community, didn't get what they wanted, and so they started telling stories all around the rest of the valley about how wonderful our church was. Guilting, when you make someone feel responsible for their actions. I can't believe you'd make me do this to you. Can you see, I don't really want to, but you're making me. Somehow they're a victim to your behavior. I'm like, that can't be right. Again, you slide in this direction. Deflecting responsibility. Again, I don't know how those pictures got on my phone. Somebody must have hacked my account. Or somebody else must have done those things. Okay? Possessiveness. Jealous to the point of controlling who you spend time with or what you do. Again, and I kind of fit into that realm. Most of you know I suffered through a divorce. We had some fidelity issues. And when I feel insecure, that jealousy stuff rises up in me in ways I just don't want to. It's not my best self. It's not a loving self, and it's not who I'd want to be. Isolation. Again, shifts to pulling away from your support systems. I want to just take a minute here. I want to talk about our community. When we first started, again, we're fellowship, better together. We were all in all the time, all together. And I think some of this got into some unhealthy behavior where people withdrew from their family systems. They withdrew from their friends or other church communities. And they didn't feel permission to connect or to have that support because it wasn't better. And again, I think there's the reason I'm confessing all this is because I want you to see it. It's not an arrival gate. This is not someday you're going to be able to make it. This is this variant that we're in where it looks healthy or it feels healthy or certainly feels good, but then it quickly turns in this other way. Jealous shifts to demanding and possessiveness, belittling, using words as weapons, laughs at your expense. Again, in the lobby today, we're talking about some experiences of teachers and coaches where they're like, why are you so sensitive? You know, why would you feel like that? And it's this dismissive belittling that happens, and it's not supposed to be that way. I believe this true love is supposed to build you up, not break you down. It's not supposed to tear you apart. It's supposed to grow you and encourage you and fill you up to this best self that we're talking about. And then volatility, high highs and low lows. Violence then quickly followed up by I'm so sorry, that will never happen again. And it could be verbal violence, it could be physical violence, but again, it's the spectrum that we're talking about. Okay? So my goal in all of this is I want to reform love. I want to reform love. And the word reforming, we've talked about reforming the church, about reforming other things. I love the imagery where God is actually sculpting, crafting, creating something beautiful as we are pliable in his hands. But love has been distorted by humanity's consistent falling short. This is that we have the ideal. This is who we're aiming at. This is Pinocchio and the real boy. We're aiming at this. And because we consistently fall short of that ideal, we start thinking, well, it can't ever be that, so I can settle for this. And that reformation is what we're talking about. Again, we've been given a target, and it attracts people with the same understanding of love. It's nothing that you went out of your way to get. This is not something you went to the store and you're like, oh, I want to be, manipulated. I'll take that one. Nobody does that. But simply by being born into your family, you receive these family systems. And then when we go out into the world and as we grow up, the people who have that same family system, they're the ones we're connected to. It's part of that distorted system. 2 Timothy 3, 1 and 5. This is the Apostle Paul talking to his protege. It says, don't be naive. There are difficult times ahead, and as the end approaches, people are going to be self-absorbed, money-hungry, self-promoting, stuck-up, profane, contemptuous of parents, crude, coarse, dog-eat-dog, unbending, slanderers, impulsively wild, savage, cynical, treacherous, ruthless, bloated wingbags, addicted to lust, and allergic to God. Addicted to lust and allergic to God. They'll make a show of religion, but behind the scenes, they're animals. And so stay clear of those people. We are people in community. We are in a community, and we do have our own watermark, if you will. I've heard this from somebody just recently where they're like, I like those fellowship people. There's something about you that is winsome and loving and kind and attractive. But we've also all been born with these watermarks, and when push comes to shove, when things get difficult, we tend to lean back on our old understanding. But God has given us the most excellent way. This is where we can aim at choosing God's watermark. This is what it is. So 1 Corinthians 13, the title, if you look at your Bible, it'll say the most excellent way. This is the way the whole chapter is described. And it's talking about love. So verse 13. If I speak in the tongues of men or angels, but I do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all my possessions to the poor and give over my body to hardship so that I may boast, but I have not love, I gain nothing. Can I get path of least resistance? We have been using this example. Again, I thank Jeff for giving it to me, but the idea, as I understand it, is when lightning is looking to strike the ground, it is looking for the path of least resistance. And there's this extraordinary charge, electrical charge, that is just hovering up there and is looking, the lightning is looking for that place where that can come in and be grounded. Okay? This is one of the most beautiful metaphors I've ever seen. And like lightning, God's Spirit is looking for those men and women, young and old, who are willing to be the path of least resistance, where God's Spirit can come down and through and for you. This is that type of love. Paul is saying that it doesn't matter if you become perfect conduits for God's words. It doesn't matter. You could become the best conduit and just be flowing with God's Spirit and Word. But if you do it in an unloving way, in a way that isn't godly, it's of no use. It won't build the kingdom of heaven. Truth and love are where words of God come through in the manner of God. It's not only knowing what to say, it's when to say it and what to say. So Proverbs 25:11, this is a slightly different translation, but I felt I saw it on Wednesday. It said, the right word spoken at the right time is as beautiful as gold apples in a silver bowl. It's a proverb. It's one of these words of wisdom. And what do I mean by Wednesday? Wednesday at lunch. I've seen this happen repeatedly, and I know that the Spirit of God is working in this group. One of our friends brought somebody who hadn't been around for a number of years. And it was uncomfortable and awkward, because that's what groups are, right? Especially in COVID times, post-COVID, nobody knows how to behave. And so my friend reached out and they held the other person's hand, especially when it was difficult. Nobody said anything, There was no rules. There was no like, oh, and you see this happen, you do this. It was as spontaneous as can be. Another one of our friends, when somebody said, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, said, I really appreciated that you're here and I'm benefiting from your presence and what you have to say. Nobody gave him any notice. I don't have like buttons under the table, you know. I don't text, now say this. But I know who does. I know who does. There are going to be people who can accomplish unbelievable things in the name of God. But if those things are done without love, it's not going to build the kingdom. I have a friend who was in Madison. He was planting a church, used Touch Twice. He had the largest dental effort I'd seen in Wisconsin. Things were moving. It was incredible. He was like George Patton, though. I don't know if you don't know George Patton, World War II, Army general. He didn't care about the body count. He just had it was like, we're taking that hill. I don't care how many people will have to die. He was up front. Now, it wasn't that he was, pushing from behind. He was leading the people in these crazy places, but he had no care or concern for how many lives it would take. Giving away all your things, loving others if it's killing you. Can I get to hell with me? This is old. This, again, I'll give to Ed. Addiction, extremes. I give this to Ed. He gave it to me. That's why I'm accrediting him. The extremes. So when we're selfish, it's the hell with you. I'm going to take care of me, right? It's easy. Everybody knows, well, that can't be loving. But as addicts, again, if you're not an addict, trust me, but the way we think, okay, if this is bad, and it's obvious, everybody thinks selfishness is bad, right? Anybody thinks selfishness is not bad? Does anybody? Okay, good. Thank you. And if you don't, we can talk later, but that's okay. So then as an addict, we're like, well, that's bad. This, right? This has to be amazing. So the hell with me, I'm going to love all of you. And if you know me, we have had, as a community and as a family, a tendency to live like that, to our own detriment. Because no greater love than this, than to lay down one's life for their friends. Right? How can that be wrong? But Scripture's telling us that's not loving. If we're not able to receive, how in the world can I have anything to give? I'm going to tell a story in here, and I'm going to try to go through this, and then, so hang on to the story. I'm not sure if I want it recorded, so hang on. But can I get 1 Corinthians 13:4? Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, and it does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking, and it is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. patient and kind. Can I get that? When I'm pushed, when I am tired, angry, hungry, lonely, I am not patient or kind. I am sharp-tongued, quick to speak, not very gentle. Most of these things you've heard before, but I want to focus on verse 7. And I'll start with always. Can I do that? What does the word always mean? On all occasions and in all circumstances. Always. This is the ideal we're talking about. This is what we're aiming at. No one reaches perfection this side of the grave, but we aim at it. Always protects. And who do we protect? The most vulnerable. I look at two babies, and I would argue, even as old as any one of us are, those two are the most vulnerable in this room. They cannot defend themselves. They cannot speak for themselves. And love is to protect them. And again, it's a scale. We're on a scale. We're looking for this upward, from above thinking, not right or left, not extremes on either side, but this other way that God has set for us. Love always protects our kids, teenagers, and our senior citizens, the most vulnerable in any community. Jesus says, what's religion? It's caring for widows and orphans, the most vulnerable. Love always protects. Then he says, always trust. Again, I've preached on this. I've used it at a million weddings. Always, always, always. I've never seen always shine. Always trust. Always. What's trust? And who are you trusting? Who are you trusting? Me? We're screwed. You? Guess what? We have to trust this other way, this most excellent way, this Creator God who speaks through and to each and every one of us who are willing. Love always trusts. Again, my friend says, trust the process. And that implies there's someone behind the process. It's not just a machine, it's a person. Love always hopes. Love always hopes. What is your hope based upon? What is your hope based upon? Is it circumstances? When this happens, then I'm going to be. What's the circumstance? The hope is that every act of love, every act of love, every act of love, every one, regardless if it's accepted or produces what you think it's supposed to, will be gathered together and brought into the kingdom of heaven. Not one act wasted. That's the hope. Love always perseveres. Does anyone ever feel like, what's the point? That's not loving. What difference does it make? Perseverance. We were on this walk for life yesterday, and Andrea met a woman that she works with. Didn't know her. Her husband's a pastor in Black River Falls. She just starts talking to us. And I posted the perseverance bracelet she happened to be wearing. She was so full of faith. She was so confident what was going to happen. She shared a story of her 86-year-old mother being water baptized. Always persevering, because you don't know who's looking. We always persevere. We always conduct ourselves in love. We always offer the truth. We always trust. We always hope, aiming at that perfection, because we don't know. I'm going to ask you to turn it off. Here's my story. August 31st, 2011, saw this little girl raised from the dead in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Thank you so much for this community. Thank you for your presence, and thank you for my friends who I didn't know were coming today, to come today. Lord, I pray for my brother. I pray for all of our brothers and sisters, anyone who is suffering with cancer, that we could trust you with these lives. We can know that you know what's best, and we can believe that your love will never fail. God, I pray this in your name. Amen.